All right, guys, today we are going to be reacting to why are so many Americans suddenly moving to Germany right now? I don't know. That'll be a good question to ask. Let's jump in.
Go onto YouTube, on my YouTube homepage. It seems like there's a new YouTube channel of Americans moving to Germany and having a YouTube channel about it. We're taking over, guys. Us Americans in Germany, we're taking over. Sorry to tell you.
Hey guys, and welcome back to our channel. I am Donnie, and along with my wife Aubrey, we are two Americans currently living in Germany and sharing all of our experiences living and traveling throughout Europe. If you don't know that YouTube channel from the intro, that is Nauf, an American playing professional American football in Germany. In one of his videos last May, he mentioned something that I also have been noticing for a while, and that is an increasing number of Americans in Germany YouTube channels. Nearly every day that I get on YouTube, YouTube recommends me one or two new channels to watch that are Americans that have moved to Germany for some reason or another and are sharing their experiences with the world.
That is crazy.
And real quick, I actually want you guys to tell me in the comments who some of your favorite channels are in this category. So with all of these new channels popping up on my YouTube feed, it made me ask a few questions. One, is Americans coming to Germany actually a real growing trend? Two, are Americans looking at actually immigrating to Germany? And three, why are so many Americans and some Canadians moving to Germany? Okay, let's tackle my first question. Are there really growing numbers of Americans flocking to Germany? Or does the fact that I watch so many of them that YouTube recommends me every one of them, and therefore I perceive...
I was gonna mention it might be perceiving that a lot of them are moving, because if you watch 10 YouTube channel of people or American moving to Germany, 10 people, from your mind you will be thinking, man, those 10 people, that means a lot of people are moving to Germany. But in reality, when you put into the scale of Germany, is it a lot? Or the United States, right? Is it a lot? I don't think so. Oh. I'm sorry, guys.
Even as if there are growing numbers of Americans coming here. I found an article by the Culture Trip from 2017 titled "Why U.S. Citizens Are Flocking to Germany." That seemed to support the idea that Americans really are moving to Germany at high rates, and in this article they wrote, recently there has been an unprecedented rise in the number of US citizens moving to Germany. However, they then wrote that statistics show that as many as 1,086 Americans received German citizenship in the year 2016. And so far in 2017, Germany has received a never before seen number of applications for German citizenship from Americans.
Wow.
So of course, now that we are living in the future, I was able to check the data and see if truly an unprecedented number of Americans really did end up becoming German citizens in 2017. And well, actually the number of Americans who became citizens of Germany went down in 2017 from the previous year. So I dug a little more and found some spreadsheets put out by the German Federal Statistical Office that showed from 2013 up until 2019, the number of Americans living in Germany was in fact a slight growing trend. But of course in 2020, the world was shut down, and actually ABC News reported that more Americans left Germany than moved into the country, as the overall number of foreigners moving to Germany hit a 10-year low for that.
Really? I would think because of the COVID-19 stuff, you'll see a higher rate of Americans going there, huh?
Year. This probably had something to do with people being cut off from their friends and family in their home countries, or could have to do with government regulations due to the pandemic not allowing the same freedom of movement between nations. So to answer the question of are Americans really moving to Germany at a rapid rate, well, I guess the definition of rapid would have to be argued over, but with the exception being 2020 and taking into consideration the global pandemic, yes, there is in fact a rising number of Americans moving to Germany every year. I personally wouldn't describe the trend as rapid, but it definitely is growing. But like I asked in my second question, what are they moving here for? Are they actually immigrating, or are they here short term? Or maybe are they like us and they have no idea what they are doing and they're just living in the
I'm just living here, I guess. I'm just living here.
So before I get to what I found, I will add this caveat. I only looked at how many Americans were actually moving to Germany permanently based on how many became citizens every year. However, this may not actually even be a great data point to look at for a couple of reasons, and those reasons may actually be in the process of changing very soon anyways. Really, the main two reasons why I'm looking at the number of Americans who are becoming German citizens to help determine how many are moving to Germany permanently isn't a great idea are, one, that for right now, Germany is a country that does not allow dual citizenship except in very specific exceptions to this rule. Therefore, in most cases, if an American were to meet the criteria to become a German citizen, they would actually have to renounce their American citizenship in order to be allowed to gain that German citizenship. As I'm sure you can understand, this makes making that jump less enticing.
Yeah, in that case, it's more like, oh, I don't know about this. I was thinking to get my Spaniard citizenship because I have Spaniard lineage on me, but at the same time, if you have to renounce my American citizenship, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it, guys. I'm not gonna do it.
If all of your family, friends, and possibly identity still resides in the US. Reason number two, the United States actually has the world's highest fees to renounce citizenship in order to discourage Americans from wanting to leave their passport behind. Just as a comparison, to give up American citizenship costs $2,350, but for a German giving up their citizenship, the fee is $0. So besides the emotional decision it would be to give up American citizenship for German, there also can be a large financial strain put on someone who may have difficulty affording it. So all this to say, many Americans may actually stay in Germany perpetually without ever trying to get German citizenship. But let's say that an American is completely devoted to moving and committing their life to Germany. What would be some of the perks? Well, I guess that there are a large number of reasons someone might make that decision, like one could be the strength of the German passport, because Germany actually ties for the second most powerful passport in the world above the USA, which is sitting tied at number 6. There also is the fact that with Germany being a member of the EU, if you get German citizenship, you are allowed to move freely and live in any other EU member state, nearly as if you were a citizen there as well. But with all that being said, here is the data of Americans becoming German citizens from 2000 until 2020. You can clearly see that it is in fact a growing trend, even with the difficult hurdles both countries put in place. In 2000, only 165 Americans received German citizenship, whereas in 2020, 935 became citizens. However, like I briefly mentioned, Germany is in a place where all things could soon be changing. The new and current German government has proposed plans to not only reduce the requirements to become German citizens, but more importantly to Americans, allow dual citizenship. If this actually goes into place as new law, we could see a large jump in the number of Americans wanting German citizenship so that Europe opens up to them more and they wouldn't have to renounce their own citizenship.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
but at the same time, right, like this is a little bit complicated, right? Because that means that you, let me put it like this. Why having a passport? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it gets a little bit complicated, guys. It's a little tedious.
Quick, I want to give a big shout out.
At the same time, if you're willing to even go through that process, I mean that you're willing to invest in the country. So that's that, right?
Back to the video. So now for the biggest question of the three. Why are Americans moving to Germany? Well, as two members of this population, I can briefly give our own personal story and insight into this American and Germany community. So our condensed story. When I was in college, I was required to complete a study abroad program and I had the choices of Spain, Italy, or Germany. I chose Germany really based on 3 reasons. One, it was the only program of the 3 that the students live with a host family, whereas the others lived in university dorms, and I wanted that fully immersive cultural experience. 2, I am a huge history buff, and specifically World War II history in the European.
There you go. A lot of us are like that, you know. We love Germany. Well, in my case, it's different because I'm a classical musician, right? So music is involved in that, right? So we go from the beginning of the 17th century all the way even to the beginning of the 20th century. When it comes down to German music, classical music. But of course, you have the caveat of World War II. So that you're making a meal out of that, man. So there you go.
European theater. It had been a dream of mine to go to Germany and experience where so much of the history I had learned had happened firsthand. And 3, it was the only program that took place during the summer, and the other 2 would have been the entire first half of my senior year at university, and I didn't want to miss any of my last year on campus. But I loved my experience in Germany, and I hated the idea that this kind of experience would be limited to a required college program if I followed the typical American progression of life. Not that there's anything wrong with that, just for me, I had been bitten by the travel bug, I guess you could say. So I had a dream of living abroad once again and fully immersing myself in another culture and being able to travel to lots of new countries. Then when Aubrey and I got married, she was completely on board.
He looks so different there, man. Wow, man, you look much better without your long hair. Shorter hair is really doing it for you. Yeah, I like that.
She
That's
grew
very
up
good.
traveling quite a bit, so we made it our mission to find a way abroad. Before we actually found a way to get a visa in a foreign country, we decided to sell most of our belongings and travel for a year. Actually, this is when we started our YouTube channel and we joined a massive niche of couples like us who thought that we were unique in selling all of our belongings, quitting our jobs and traveling the world before realizing that we live in the age of digital nomads and everybody putting their lives on YouTube. After that year, we decided to move to Germany and we kept our YouTube channel, which pushed us into a different, already rather saturated niche that we didn't even know existed, and that is of Americans living in Germany, and some Canadians too. The basic reasons that we settled on Germany once again were that Germany felt somewhat familiar and I had a connection to it because of my experience in college. Aubrey was able to find a job in Germany in her career field of speech and language pathology, and we loved how central it was in Europe so that we could easily travel across this side of the globe. Now again, that is just our story, but what about
That is interesting. Even if it's saturated content, I mean, that doesn't mean that a lot of people like to see. I mean, I do reaction channel. You guys would not believe how many reaction channels I watch, bro. Sometimes I don't want to watch the raw content. I just want to go and just watch it with a reaction channel. I don't know. Reaction channels are something, or if you like people traveling around and you like people's opinion when it comes down to when they're visiting a new country. This content is always like a new experience. So I don't think saturation is something that we have. I don't know. Sorry. Let me just push the computer here. I need to buy a new desk. I don't think the saturation is the right word, right? It's just a certain content requires a little bit more of constant action, constant correction kind of type of approach. Hopefully you guys can
other
understand
Americans
what I'm
in
saying.
Germany. In the same article I referenced from the culture trip before, they said while no particular reason for this surge has officially been pegged down, a popular theory is that more and more Americans are experiencing disillusionment over the new presidential rule in the USA. Now, we have to remember that this article was written in 2017, and maybe that was a reason for people to be leaving the US at that time, according to them, but that doesn't explain why they would choose Germany as their destination. Now, later in the same article, they did give a few possible reasons that Americans were choosing Germany specifically, like the cost of higher education in Germany compared to the US, how strong the economy is in Germany, and yet how they still need a lot of skilled workers, Germany's top class healthcare facilities compared to the cost in the US, and the ease at which Americans can enter Germany. However, this article is talking specifically about Americans who chose on their own to move to Germany and did so. But there also is a massive block of Americans that we cannot ignore because they make up a huge chunk of the American and Germany population, and that is the American military. Honestly, we knew the American military had a presence in Germany, but we never really realized how large this community is in Germany until we moved here. From 2006 to 2018, the number of American military members in Germany actually halved from roughly 72,400 to 33,250. Wow. Today, there is in the neighborhood of 35,000 American troops stationed in Germany. However, what that figure doesn't include are the number of Americans that those 35,000 bring with them, like spouses, children, or other possible dependents.
So we don't know that side of the equation. So it might be still in the ballpark of 70,000, 80,000.
Beyond that, there are also in the neighborhood of 15,000 civilian U.S. Department of Defense employees in Germany, and they also have families that they have brought with them. In fact, in and around the city of Kaiserslautern, where you can find the
Kaiserslautern.
most overwhelmingly large American communities in Germany, over 53,000 Americans live and work to support the largest American airbase outside of the US in terms of personnel. Really, if you look at the YouTube channels of Americans living in Germany, you get a pretty good cross-section, an idea of why they are here. There are a lot of university students. There are those that move to Germany because of relationships or marriages. Others are just...
Now, question is, let's say we get this influx of a lot of Americans going abroad, especially Germany. How do you guys feel about that? I just want to hear your honest opinion, guys. Don't hold back. I want to hear your own opinion. What do you guys think about that? That's what I want to know. Is it a good? Is it good? Is it bad? It's alright? Or what do you guys think about that? I don't know, man. Because what I'm thinking about is Berlin, Munich, Hamburg. There's a lot of places where they're starting to speak English. So I would love to just hear you guys' feedback regarding this. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you next one.